for a jam-packed session. We've got a lot of content for you in the next hour. I'll start by just giving you a run-through in a second of what we're going to cover in the next hour. But effectively today we'll be discussing Kickstart and how your organisation has the opportunity to make a difference to young people now. And we'll be encouraging you to take the plunge, make that step, and commit to Kickstart, now as soon as possible. It's brilliant to see so many new organisations on the call. I can see we've got the likes of Sky, McLaren, Next, ITV, Morrison's, Costco, Atkins Global, Openreach, Britfit, River Island, Iceland, and many more. So thank you so much for those of you who've joined this morning. And thank you also to our existing partners, some of which you've seen on the screen, but also I know we've got on the call American Airlines, Accenture, HSBC, Homebase and Very Group as well. So thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you enjoy the next hour. In terms of introducing myself, my name is Ben Marson. I'm the Director of Partnerships at the Prince's Trust. I look after all of our relationships with UK businesses and also UK government and the devolved regions of the UK as well. So in a good position to lead this discussion about Kickstart. In terms of the agenda now, we are hoping to be joined by the Minister for Employment, Mims Davies, very shortly, who will give us an update on Kickstart from a Department for Work and Pensions perspective. And then we'll be putting a few employer questions from our employer panel to the Minister as well. We'll then move into the middle section, which will be an employer panel. So we have a brilliant panel lined up for you. We'll introduce them shortly, and they'll be answering some questions that you've put through in advance, but also in the chat. Any questions that we don't get chance to answer today, we will follow up and make sure we answer them as well. And then in the final 15 minutes, I'll pass over to my colleague, Charlie, who works with young people, who's going to facilitate a discussion with a couple of young people who've been through Kickstart or on Kickstart at the moment. And they'll be sharing their experiences and also explaining the way the Prince's Trust support works, so you can be really clear as employers how that works as well for you today. Right, let's get on with today. So if you don't know much about the Prince's Trust, just a reminder that the Prince's Trust is a youth charity that helps 11 to 30-year-olds who are unemployed or struggling in education to transform their lives and support them to realise their potential. We've supported more than 1 million young people since we were founded by His Royal Highness the Prince of Wales in 1976. And typically we support between about 60,000 and 70,000 young people every year in the UK. Our ambition as we look to the future is to support young people across the UK by giving them the opportunity to create a better future through employment, education and enterprise. And we're also working really hard to make sure we're one of the UK's most equal, diverse and inclusive organisations that serves young people as well. Now, this topic we're talking about today is really, really important. As you all know, economically, young people have been hit the hardest in the impact from the pandemic and in terms of unemployment, especially those furthest from the labour market. And we conducted our own research earlier this year with the Learning and Work Institute alongside us, supported by HSBC. And that looked at employment prospects for young people after COVID and just looked at some of the long-term challenges, I think, facing young people, particularly as the labour market and sector start to shift as well. But there's no doubt from our own research that there is a huge long-term scarring effect of unemployment on young people. So if you're unemployed for short or even long periods when you're young, it can have an impact on your employment prospects and any potential for the rest of your life. So and in terms of a forecast, the impact of that scarring effect on young people effectively looks like if you enter the labour market now, and young people who are struggling to enter the labour market, we look at the impact on those young people, it's anticipated to cost the economy something like 14.4 billion over the next 7 years in terms of the scarring effect. So there's no doubt that there's a lot we need to do. Just looking at the work we've done so far on Kickstart, some interesting stats to share with you. So this looks at the impact from the placements we've run so far. And you can see that actually 15% of young people that were joining Kickstart were under 6 months unemployed, 40% were between 6 months and 2 years unemployed, and a staggering 41% of the Kickstarters on our programme have been 2 to 5 years since employment. So you can really see the impact of a programme like this and the difference it can make to a young person who's desperate to get into the labour market often for the very first time. So in terms of some other slides, I think we've got some other slides to share with you as well from an equality, diversity and inclusion perspective. If you look at the breakdown of our Kickstarters, 15% of young people identified with a disability, 27% of young people from an ethnic minority background, and 43% were female. So a good mix of male-female on the programs, as well as a good balance of diversity. And I know that's really critical to employers who often want to use Kickstart rightly to diversify their workforce as well. So lots to talk about, many good reasons for you to all join in on Kickstart today, and I hope you do feel inspired to do so. So without further ado, I do believe that the Minister for Employment, Mims Davies, is here and joining us. And Mims is going to share some updates from DWP on Kickstart for 5 minutes or so. So Minister, a very warm welcome. It's good to see you again. And over to you, really. Thank you very much.
I'm sure, Ben, it's particularly pleasing to see me because I wasn't here 5 minutes ago, and that's stressful sitting in your position. So thank you, and my humble apologies, and good morning, everyone from Derby. I'm in one of our new rapid expanded JCPs, Job Centre Pluses, otherwise known as Jobs Community Progression Hubs, and it's been brilliant to meet the team here this morning. I'm heading off later to see our other local job centre and meet more of our new work coaches in the team there. The Minister for Health and Safety executive as well, so I'm at their Buxton site later and doing more things for Kickstart tomorrow around the job figures, which will be announced for this month tomorrow. So forgive me while our tech was a little bit slow in this new building this morning. So a very good morning, and thank you so much for inviting me to speak today at today's event. Thank you so much to the Prince's Trust, who are a fantastic organisation, brilliant to work with, and we're extremely grateful for all that they're doing, supporting our Kickstart scheme and inspiring so many people to be part of it and to be involved. I would really dearly very much like to thank the Prince's Trust for their engagement with Kickstart so far, the employability support for many employers, the interventions of the support for those young people, the broadest barriers, is hugely welcome and a hugely important part of our scheme. So I really do want to thank them for the ongoing constructive and important engagement which continues to positively shape and promote the scheme. Now, it was funnily enough, it was in Derbyshire this time last year, as the Plan for Jobs was announced, that I was starting to design and work with officials about what our youth offer was going to look like. And I can tell you, it was quite fun driving around trying to find some signal at various points to have meetings as we carried on through August and landed the scheme in September. And for those not quite sure what Kickstart is all about, it's a £2 billion scheme to create hundreds of thousands of additional jobs for young people aged 16 to 24 who are on universal credit and most at risk of long-term unemployment, to give them that first chance to build their confidence and skills in the workplace, to gain that vital experience which will help them improve their chances of progressing to find long-term sustainable work. And what's been really pleasing is last week I was in Croydon at one of our new job centres and meeting some of the employees from the gym company, and meeting 5 young people just last week who'd gone on to full-time employment with those employers, and that has been brilliant. So since the launch of the scheme last September, employers up and down the country have created from scratch over 240,000 Kickstart placements, jobs for young people who've been most hardest hit by the economic impact of the pandemic. and over 40,000 young people have already started their Kickstart roles. I've been hearing just now about Super Saturdays here in Derby, where they've been matching employers to young people, and hearing about one young chap with a new baby who'd never had the opportunity to work, who'd cobbled together the opportunity to get here on a Saturday and walked away with a job, and multiple other brilliant stories like that. So that's what's so amazing about being at DWP. It's life-changing every day what we do through our work coaches and through our teams, and Kickstart has been amazing, and we're continuing to really get those changes for young people's lives because of the work that we're all doing together. So employers across Great Britain are really taking advantage of the excellent opportunity to bring in fresh ideas, new talent into the workplace. Employers very often asking me, and saying that they really find it more difficult than they would like to be more diverse and reach out and to bring people in with barriers. And actually, by being part of Kickstart, employers have really been able to bridge that challenge. And I know that many of you have already signed up to be part of Kickstart, and some of you are keen to understand about the positive experiences of being in the scheme. And that's just one of the things that has come back to me as Employment Minister. And we have rightly continued to listen and respond to feedback so that the scheme is running effectively. And I freely admit there was no time for any sort of targeting or piloting. We just had to go straight in and make sure that we had this up and running in September, October last year, with first placements starting in December. So, it hasn't always been smooth sailing, and I thank all the employers who've stuck with us as we've learnt and improved our processes. One of the things we did was we removed the 30 job minimum requirement for applications to Kickstart. It worked really well for gateways, and in fact we've got over 900 gateways, but it does now allow us, as we've refined the scheme, to give employers the choice to apply directly into the scheme or through one of our brilliant 900 gateways, and created a gateway model as well, which also enables employers who are not able to do so themselves to place the young person on the Gateway's PAYE scheme. This allows much easier participation in the scheme for our sole traders, and employers can also apply to the scheme, as I say, directly or indirectly. So there's choices here and ways that we can help you, large or small, to be part of it. And it's a really great way of giving that young person who's unemployed that potentially life-changing opportunity at very little cost to employers. And it's been quite amazing when I've spoken to employers, how many people were actually on YTS or other schemes where they were given a chance, and it's been able to help support those employers' recruitment needs, but also help those people give young people a chance in a way that they had. Now, our job centres have been open all the way through the pandemic for the most vulnerable, and they are fully open for business now. And so I would encourage you to speak to your local points of contact in terms of applying for the Kickstart scheme. We've got dedicated district account managers based in each job centre district specifically to support employers to applying to the Kickstart scheme, supporting with the right applications and the way to process young people into Kickstart jobs, and also just to make it easier for you around the additionality challenges and other challenges. It's not been easy, as I say, rolling out a national scheme at pace. Of course, initial challenges, but through engagement with employers and stakeholders and that really local interventions, we continue to make improvements, above all, to get those young people into those over 240,000 roles. And in fact, there's over 150,000 roles currently being advertised across DWP for young people to go into. Now, one change that we've made for the schemes process is a quicker turnaround to applications. We need to make sure, of course, we're protecting taxpayers' money through robust, fair and suitable procedures. And the Kickstart scheme is funded by a grant. So we need to make sure that we've got the right rules and that everybody plays fair and understands how it works. But we do have more staff deployed to process and improve applications, recruiting additional work coaches with valuable expertise to help matching those young people into suitable job roles, because we do know it's those who've been hardest hit by the pandemic. And the fundamental part for the Kickstart scheme is employability support, that we really want our young people to be in a better and stronger position as they come out of their Kickstart job, whether it's into sustained employment with that existing employer, or whether it's moving on to a traineeship, an apprenticeship, other roles, other sectors, more learning, going back to college, whatever is right for that young person. And that's why we've created over 140 youth hubs up and down the country, 50 of them already open, to help people to make sure that whether it's a Kickstart journey or a traineeship or apprenticeship or other work journey, we are helping them with housing issues, mental health issues, wider support that they may need to get into the next stage so that they can really thrive. So I'm going to hand back to Ben, but just a reminder that for each person placed in a Kickstart role, the government will pay the employer a grant of £1,500 to provide support. That is about investing the money into young people to make sure that they get all they need post recovery. So thank you so much for letting me be part of this event. I'm happy to take a few questions, and I hope this session inspires you to be part of the scheme without delay, because it's running through to December with graduates through till next June. So if you want to be part of it, it's time to do it sooner rather than later. Back to you, Ben.
Minister, thank you very much, and thank you for your call to action at the end there as well. I'm sure we'll hear that again through the session today. We do have some questions for you from our employer panel group. So I'll go first of all to Alissa to introduce herself and ask a quick question. So Alissa, over to you.
Thanks, Ben. Hi, everyone. I'm Alissa Dhaliwal, Head of Education and Skills Policy at the CBI, and we represent over 190,000 businesses, many of which have been very engaged with Kickstart or very interested in the scheme. My question for Mims is, what is the definition of an additional job as part of the Kickstart application process? As I think this is something employers would really find helpful in terms of making a decision.
Thanks, Alissa, and thank you very much to the CBI. You've been amazing support, and we could not do this without you and all employers. So we need to ensure that employers applying for Kickstart jobs are able to provide the full 6 months of meaningful work for the young person. It's important that these jobs are in additional to what employers were anticipating to have. We don't expect employers to claim the furlough scheme, for example, from the government whilst employing a Kickstart participant in the very same role, for example. Kickstart jobs must not replace jobs of employers that are currently furlough or replace any existing or planned vacancies employers have had. So additionality has been a key part for the employer to understand, and I recognise it's not always as simple as that. That's why we've really lent into our local KDAMs, our Kickstart district leaders, to really help employers to understand what additionality means. And I've attended a number of sessions recently over the last couple of weeks, for example, with the hospitality sector. Some of you are attending today, to really help people to understand specifically how the scheme might help them, because I know there are vacancies and needs. So we're really committed to helping those sectors and those vacancies as broadly as possible. So I would say to any employer, if you're struggling, link to the local team. We'll pick up on the additionality point. There's also a balance here. You can't, have 50 employers but 450 Kickstarters. There's always got to be a balance between the amount of people that's in your business or organisation supporting the Kickstarters. So we're not trying to make it too difficult, and we will always try and unpick it for employers above all, so that placement comes forward and there's the right opportunity for both the employer and the Kickstarter. So Alissa, I hope that helps.
Thank you. I think we've got a question now from Adele, who will introduce herself and ask the question. Adele.
Hello, Minister. I'm Adele Bridgman, Talent Business Partner for the Commercial, International and Lad Studios Department at Lad Bible Group. Lad Bible Group is one of the biggest publishers in the world, and with an audience approaching 1 billion, we have more Gen Z watching our videos than any of our other competitors. And as a brand, we have a mission to give young people aged between 18 to 34 a voice by building communities that laugh, think and act across all of our platforms. We've been involved with the Prince's Trust for a number of years now. So when we decided to become a Kickstart employer, partnering with the Prince's Trust was an absolute no-brainer. And my question to you is, how does the DWP support local job centres to help young people find the right Kickstart opportunity?
Thanks, Adele. Absolutely love what you guys do. It's really fresh and exciting. Thank you so much for being part of Kickstart with the Prince's Trust. So Kickstart's been created in direct response to the COVID-19 pandemic with a key aim to offering jobs to young people aged between 16 and 24 claiming universal credit who are most at risk of long-term unemployment, those people with the biggest barriers and the biggest challenges. And don't forget, you could be 16 and a care leaver on universal credit needing support from us. So that's exactly how DWP, working with local claimants, working with the local economy, working with our job work coaches, mean that we can identify the best way forward for that young person, whether it's a Kickstart role, traineeship role, whether it's moving into an apprenticeship. And that's why we pulled together our youth hubs. And working with people such as the Prince's Trust means that we can reach those young people with the broadest barriers and really make sure that it's those people where the pandemic is most impacting who are going to be seeing the benefit. The work coach will discuss the jobs and the opportunities prior to making a referral. We have things like Kickstart, Quick Start, and I mentioned Super Saturdays earlier, where we'll get that young person and that employer directly together, really focusing on those ways of meeting each other where they have the biggest barriers. And in Derby this morning, they were talking about one Super Saturday recently had where one employer took on 5 different Kickstarters, then and there, got them straight onto the payroll and said, meet your new colleagues. And that for us is life-changing and is a key principle. So delighted that you're with us. We'll continue engaging with our claimants through job centres, telephone, face-to-face is key. And that's making the real difference in terms of matching up young people with the right opportunities.
Thank you, Melissa. Louise, I think you had a question from M&S.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. Good morning, Minister. My name's Louise Treadwin and my role is HR Talent Partner at M&S. As part of my role, I have the absolute privilege of leading our employability programmes, including the Kickstart programme. We launched our first Kickstart cohort in April in partnership with the Prince's Trust, and we have our second cohort launching next week. So I'm really delighted to be part of today's panel and share our Kickstart experience at M&S. My question is, at the beginning, Ben shared some impact stats around young people being in long-term unemployment. At M&S, we're really committed alongside the Prince's Trust in terms of recruiting young people who have been long-term unemployed and hardest to reach. What I wanted to know was what support are the job centres and coaches providing beforehand to make sure that they're confident and motivated for the placement?
Thanks, Louise, and thank you to M&S and all that you're doing with the Prince's Trust. You are awesome at everything you've just described. It's actual action and not those words, and I'm very conscious of that as myself trying to deliver this and really making sure it's life-changing. And without people like you working with the Prince's Trust, we just can't do it. So very grateful to you. Very excited as well because I've got someone joining my team who's been through some of your programmes at M&S, joining the ministerial team as well, and he's broken through a few barriers to do that and started off his career because of M&S. So those kind of stories are so exciting. So our work coaches work really closely with their claimants to really understand which kind of jobs suits them in terms of their motivation and skill set, including referring young people to the pre-training courses in advance of being referred to a Kickstart job if a gap is identified. I think it's important for employers and other people on this call to know is lots of our young people are not work ready right now or even Kickstart ready. They've been spending 16, 18 months sitting in their bedrooms wondering what on earth is happening and where they're going to go next. Their confidence is low and their employability skills and all of those other things needs bringing up to scratch so that they're ready for those interviews and those opportunities. So we've got a range of local pre-employment provision that's available for young people to prepare for applying for the Kickstart scheme jobs. things like interview techniques, application processes, knowing that you've got to apply for the job, that you can't just simply be referred. It doesn't magically happen. You've got to perhaps have a chat or an interview, whether it's through Zoom or a platform like this, you know, how to be ready for that. And that's a different way of engaging potentially is to face. So we're really helping them with that, and also with some additional ongoing support through the Kickstart placement, through the work coach, to ensure that that person has the best possible experience both with the employer and addresses any barriers that they've got with work. So we've got access to work scheme. Kickstart roles exactly the same as any other job scheme. So if anyone has any disablement or any long-term health conditions, they can access that support through DWP and make sure that they're supported. And I must say, many employers have been brilliant at offering both home working and flexible working and different working, even for Kickstart roles where possible, so that they're including the broadest amount of people in the most suitable way. And that's very exciting as well. So thank you, Louise, and thanks for your support. And I hope that was helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. We've got quite a lot of questions that came in on sort of asking about Kickstart extension. So I thought I'd just, while we're here for the next few minutes, if I could just ask Alissa from the CBI just to give a view on why the Kickstart scheme could be or should be extended, and then perhaps Robin's got a final question for you, Minister. So Alissa, quick view from you on that, please.
Thanks, Ben. Yep. So as I said earlier, we know that thousands of businesses have already signed up to the scheme so far, and it definitely reflects businesses' desire to kind of get involved and help tackle youth unemployment. But I think from what we're hearing from businesses, the delays caused by the third lockdown and some of the initial delays on processing time for the scheme have meant that it's taken longer for some of those placements to get off the ground than first expected. And we know that many businesses are planning to take on Kickstarters in cohorts. So we need to make sure that businesses have sufficient time to deliver all of the placements that have been approved. So our view is that extending the deadline by 6 months would account for any delays as the economy kind of reopens fully, and guarantee kind of time to process the huge demand for placements to ensure that as many young people have the opportunity to take part in the scheme as possible.
Thanks, Alissa. So, Minister, we've got a slightly choreographed setup now because Robin had a question she was going to ask. So I'll let Robin ask the question, and then you can respond to both of those. So, Robin.
Thanks, Ben. Good morning, Minister. I'm Robin. I am the Group Head of Talent for the JD Group. So we're a global retailer of sports, fashion, and outdoor products. So for my part of that, I look after early careers as part of my role, and Kickstart was a fantastic opportunity for us to create talent pipelines for young people who are ultimately very close to our key consumer of 13 to 24-year-olds. So we've got over 1,000 Kickstart placements, which is fantastic, starting nationally in July. And my question for you is, because it's making such a difference to young people from the feedback that we're getting in the organisation about these jobs and the opportunity it's presented to them, under what circumstances do you see it becoming more of a long-term initiative for employers to use?
Thanks, Robin, and thanks for all you're doing. Very helpful as well to buy net and various other things that I need from you very often. So it's good to talk to you, and thank you for your support. Alissa, I think you encapsulated a very strong spirit that a lot of people have around Kickstart, and how lovely to have people saying, we love this, please extend it, and that's a really nice position to be in. I'm really sorry that I can't write the Chancellor's next budget for him. I frankly am very pleased that I'm nowhere near that in every shape or form. So we know that sadly that this precise point, you never know, there are no current plans to extend the scheme beyond December, with the last cohort of course starting up through to the 31st of December and finishing in the following summer. So there is still time to get involved, and I do encourage employers still interested in taking part of the scheme to apply now. And I do totally get it, Alissa. It was very frustrating for me and us getting this up and running with our job centres, managing all of this with tiers and lockdowns and changes and everything like that. So it's been nothing short of remarkable of I think how far we've got, and there's still a long way to go. I am very keen that we convert those 240,000 placements that we've got into actual opportunities for people, those 140,000 opportunities across DWP turning into opportunities for young people. I know the Chancellor loved this scheme. I know the Treasury are fully behind it, and I'm sure you'll continue to lobby strongly for the next stage. But at the moment, that's where we are. But absolutely right to ask the question, and I'm delighted that we're in a place that people, feel that, what the next stage is that they would really like to feed into. So feel free to continue to lobby. That's absolutely fine by me. But thanks very much for the reminder of just how strongly people are committed to this. And thanks, Ben, and everybody for letting me join you this morning.
Thank you, Minister. Really, really appreciate your time with us this morning. And, we are very supportive of Kickstart. We will continue with your support to push businesses to do everything they can. So thank you on behalf of all of us. Thank you very much.
Thanks all. Bye for now.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to questions posed by you to our employer panel. And I'll just move straight into the questions, really. Although I will just say, obviously, the fact that there is no guarantee Kickstart will be extended should be the further call to action, because the terms of any extension, should that even be considered, are completely unknown, and it may well be prioritising those who've already taken part in the scheme and already have placement. So I just really urge all employers to get involved and get involved as soon as possible. But first question actually came from Penny at Atkins Global. So the question is, why should more businesses be taking part in Kickstart? Alissa, perhaps I can come to you for that, please.
Sure, thanks, Ben. So we know that there's currently a number of kind of employability schemes that the government have put in place to support young people. So that can be Kickstart, apprenticeships, traineeships, T-levels. So there's a real variety. I think where employers are looking to support young people into work for kind of CSR reasons, they're looking to diversify their talent pipeline. I think Kickstart's a great option, because the aim is to help young people at risk of long-term unemployment really get their foot in the door for a successful and rewarding career. And it's also a great opportunity to kind of test the need for a new role in a business as well, given the additionality clause. I think if your organisation is maybe motivated by more of a specific skill need or hiring need, then potentially looking at a traineeship or an apprenticeship might be something that you might want to explore. Aside from just Kickstart. But I think overall, we know that Kickstart really does make an impact to young people, and it's something that a lot of businesses are kind of building into, as I said, their CSR role and delivery. So if that's what you're mainly motivated by, I think Kickstart's a great opportunity to give young people that foot in the door that they wouldn't have got otherwise.
Thank you very much, Alissa. So I've got a question now for Louise, which is it came from Moving to Work, actually. So Louise, if you could tell us about the process that Marks & Spencer implemented to promote the Kickstart opportunities and how the Prince's Trust supported. That's come from Elaine at Moving to Work. So Louise, over to you on that one, please.
Yeah, no, sure. Thank you for the question. So we've used a real variety of methods to promote our Kickstart opportunities internally and externally. So if I start with internally, we use team briefs in our participating stores and our internal communications across the company to talk to our colleagues about the programme. And we really encourage them to share the opportunities with their friends and family, because actually we know that colleagues could have, friends and family that could have been impacted by the pandemic, that were long-term unemployed, and it was we felt it was a great opportunity for them to talk to Kickstart to them and open up that opportunity. And we found the friends and family approach works really well. Externally, we promoted our opportunities across our social media channels, including LinkedIn, Facebook, as well as referencing on our careers site. And that directed people to the Job Centre and the work coaches to find out more. As we're hosting Kickstart placements in specific stores, we found that local promotion worked really well. So every store has a local Facebook page, which allows them to connect to their local community. So we created a Kickstart post that they could share. And we also put out local press releases as well to, I suppose, really engage with the local community, because, again, we feel that's really important. We then had great support from the Prince's Trust, who shared their opportunities across social channels, their local networks, and also across their Kickstart opportunities board on the website. So that was really helpful. And equally, we also use Movement to Work as well through their networks. What we did for our second cohort, which launches next week, as I said, is we actually produced a guide for the job centres to talk to young people about M&S, the role, the programme, because I think we probably had an assumption that, you know, people would know who M&S are, what it was about, but actually we found that really helpful, and it was really gratefully received for the second cohort.
Louise, thank you very much. That's really helpful, I'm sure, for businesses listening. We've got another question now from Sheeran at Showcode. And I'm going to ask that to each of the employers, if that's okay, on the call. So the question is, what were the biggest challenges in participating in this programme, and how did you overcome them? So if I can go to Adele, then Louise, and then Robin on that, please. Adele, over to you first.
So it's worth noting that other businesses are taking advantage in the scheme, so there can be some competition when it comes to candidates. But what I would urge you is that if you miss out on offering a particular individual, it likely means that they've either secured another Kickstart opportunity, or, fantastic news, they've secured a full-time role, which is absolutely great. The second point is that we, as a business, we pushed the original start date back for our first cohort due to the number of direct referrals. And on this, I would suggest working very closely with the DWP and the local job centres that you can fully brief them on all of your positions and exactly what you're looking for. I must say our key contacts were absolutely brilliant. They helped us to organise multiple briefing sessions. We talked directly to the claimants, and that was incredible because it helped us to increase the number of applications. And then my last point on it is the challenges completely far outweigh the positives. Or rather, the positives hugely outweigh the challenges. Well. Thank you. So please, everyone, do get involved.
Great, Adele, thank you. Over to you, Louise.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. One of the biggest challenges we found was actually some of the mental health challenges that young people are kind of experiencing, which we know, are absolutely heightened through the pandemic, and particularly their levels of confidence after being isolated so long that the Minister kind of referenced earlier. This was something that we prepared for because we ran our Marson Start programme that we run in partnership with the Prince's Trust towards the end of last year, and it was something that we experienced then, so we'd kind of really thought hard about it. So what we did to overcome it was to make sure that line managers felt really prepared to support and signpost young people who were struggling to our internal wellbeing resources. We work with an external mental health service or specialist provider called PAM. So we made sure they kind of had that direction to the sort of free confidential health and wellbeing service. In our induction, we spent time anyway talking about kind of mental health and wellbeing, but what we did for the Kickstart programme was extended that session, so we kind of spent more time signposting the young people to the resources. Running the programme in partnership with the Prince's Trust has actually been, real support with this, because the Prince's Trust have got extensive experience and expertise in terms of working with the young people who face barriers into work, and we've made sure we've made most of that expertise through the programme. So each young person's we've buddied up with a member of staff in the store, and the Prince's Trust ran some specific training sessions for those buddies to tell them more about the programme, the role of the Prince's Trust, but I suppose most importantly, how to kind of prepare them to support the young people and some of the barriers that they might be facing, and also how to be a great buddy. And then also, I suppose, finally, as part of the programme, the Prince's Trust hold a one-to-one on a monthly basis with a young person, and that's a great opportunity for them to discuss any kind of personal issues they might be facing, any barriers they need, or any kind of specific support. So I definitely encourage people to make the most of that support.
Thank you, Louise. And I know it's often the informal personal support that makes the biggest difference rather than the hard skills required. It's definitely the pastoral care that makes the difference. Robin, your answer to that one, please.
Yeah, so sorry, I'd say our biggest challenge has been, because obviously we went quite ambitious with 1,000 roles joined at the same time nationwide. So it felt a bit daunting that from a recruitment process perspective, because it's all individual work coach referral, that felt like a challenge at first. However, the DWP and the Prince's Trust were fantastic at changing the process, being creative with the process. So what we did is we spent a lot of time with key district account managers, work coaches, doing sessions about the JD roles, our commitment in Kickstart in particular, about reaching young people with barriers to employment that are potentially furthest from the labour market, and how we were going to support with that. The Prince's Trust dovetailed into that with the employability training, the work that they did with us and these young young people on pre-interview skills. And then again, like Louise mentioned, the one-to-one support, the employability webinars, really bring that to life throughout placement. I'd say for us, the DWP have been fantastic, really reactive to change, have got behind us, and these work coaches and key district account managers who are on Kickstart have been working tirelessly to refer people in to these vacancies, and it is quite an ask as well. You know, we've guaranteed that we'll interview 5 referrals per Kickstart placement in some of our stores. We've got 6 placements available, so you know I can only thank them. You know, and then the Prince's Trust as well for marketing these roles in key areas, helping with their social channels. So for us, what was initially a challenge has become a real positive and a different way of recruiting.
That's really good to hear. Thank you, Robin. So I'm going to ask you a final question, which has come through from Sonia at Morrison's, actually, which is, it's actually 2 questions. But one, what's been your biggest success to date? And then secondly, what benefits have you seen from working with the Prince's Trust supporting your Kickstarters? So Adele, to you first, please.
So there have been numerous successes. So our involvement in Kickstart forms part of our overarching diversity and inclusion strategy, in which as an employer, we're committed to using our platform to make a positive impact on the industry and to open up avenues and to share knowledge to encourage underrepresented talent to consider a career in media. And as a result, we have 16 phenomenal people join our business, spanning our marketing, our editorial, our content and creative teams, which for us means new, fresh and dynamic talent and ideas. We've also learned a couple of things along the way. So we tailored our recruitment process to really make it informally formal. At second stage, we set the candidates a brief or a question, and it was an absolute joy. I sat in on every single interview, and it was brilliant to see the creativity, the skill and the passion that came through, something that will always stay with me. And then just lastly, a huge shout out to the Prince's Trust, to Cleo, to Dags, to Nicola, to everyone we're working with, because the wraparound support, the training sessions and the advice helps to set up each individual so they're not only just learning on the job, which is specific to the employer, but they are learning valuable skills which will just set them up. So how to manage their money, what a pay slip means, how to build confidence and understanding their personality and others. So a huge thank you.
Thank you, Adele. Same question to Louise.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. Similar to Adele, actually. So inclusion and diversity is a real priority for us as a business, as I'm sure it is for kind of many. And Kickstart's proved to be a great opportunity to bring some diverse talent into our business. So I suppose similar statistics to what you shared earlier, Ben. So out of our first cohort of 170, 22% are from ethnic minorities, 58% are female and 8% have declared a disability. Our cohort also has real diversity in terms of background and experience. So 28% have no prior work experience, to we've found individuals that actually have got extensive work experience, high levels of education, but unfortunately through the pandemic have found themselves in that category of long-term unemployment. And so I suppose what this has done is brought some real rich experience and skills into our business, and they've made a real impact to our stores and our customers. And I thought kind of a nice example to share was that lots of the young people have been getting mentions on our customer survey, which is fantastic to see the impression that they're kind of already making after, sort of 3 short months. And a really nice example is our West Key store, where the 6 Kickstarters in that store in 3 months have already received 85 mentions on our customer survey between them, with one individual called Tyrese getting an incredible 36 positive comments from customers, and he's actually made it onto our kind of national service stars, which was brilliant to see. We've also had some great retention, so 88% of those that started on the programme are still with us after 3 months, and overall we've seen some kind of great levels of engagement and motivation. We're currently working with our line managers to explore about their kind of future potential with the Kickstarters. So whilst there's no guarantee of a role, we're really, we would love to retain as many young people as we can, particularly those that have been identified as having talent for the future. So we were really delighted. Actually, last week we heard that 3 of our Kickstarters in Fos Park store had actually been offered a permanent job already. So it's really great to hear, and you'll hear more later also from our fabulous Brownie in Norwich store. He's doing a great job as well. So that kind of talent piece is really important. And then I suppose just to finish in terms of benefits of working with the Prince's Trust. So we've got a really long-standing relationship with the Prince's Trust. We've worked together for a long time, and they know our business really well. And what we've always found with the Prince's Trust is they're really great in terms of tailoring their wraparound support to the needs and requirements of the business, as well as providing the best support for the young people. And what we find is the Prince's Trust, I suppose, like I said earlier, they've got such expertise and experience in working with the young people. They know what works, they know what doesn't work, and how best to support. And I suppose I feel that's really elevated our programme and equally given the young people the best chance to succeed.
Louise, thank you very much. Nice to see lots of people getting name checked, including Terry, who may not know he's being name checked on this call right now. Robin, just final words from you, please, on that question.
Yeah, I mean, like Adele and Louise, multiple successes. I'd say for us as a business, our commitment was specifically around targeting these opportunities at young people with barriers to employment who are potentially furthest from the labour market. And DWP and Prince's Trust have been instrumental in making that happen. So for us, the successes have been when we've received feedback from the DWP or the young people, the claimants involved, that this has been a life-changing opportunity for them. Most of them are doing extremely well from what I've heard, and we're getting feedback all the time. We're fairly new to placement, but the initial feedback has been really good, and we're just about to join over 80 people. And then I can see the numbers rising as we speak to get to our target of over 900 in July. So for us, the initial successes have been really, really humbling, and absolutely kind of defines why we want to be involved in this scheme. In terms of the benefits of working with the Prince's Trust, it's our first experience of working with the Prince's Trust, but it's going to be a long relationship, I can tell, because they've got involved with us. They have weekly meetings in what our roles are, what our business stands for, the fact that we want to convert these Kickstarters into apprenticeship standards throughout our group and into future employment opportunities, which was how we based our numbers. So for us, the Prince's Trust have been absolutely crucial in bringing that to life. They'll, you say to them, oh, we need referrals in Wales, and they'll have marketing people, work coaches, engage with local DWP offices. So it's a real partnership, and that's how we felt from day one.
Thank you very much, Robin. And that draws our questions to a close. I hope that's inspired the businesses out there to get involved, and you've heard what it's really like from businesses themselves. Brilliant insight. So thank you very much to Alissa, to Adele, to Louise and Robin. Really, really grateful. Thank you for joining us. We're going to move now to Charlie, who's one of my colleagues who works with young people in Manchester, and she's going to lead the youth panel. So Charlie, I'll hand over to you for the rest of the session.
Thank you very, very much. So hi everyone, my name is Charlie and I'm an exec at the Prince's Trust. I'm really excited to be hosting today's youth panel and speaking about the wonderful Evan and Bryony. As an exec who is on the Kickstart programme, it's been amazing to directly support young people and see their transformation. Often, they start with us, they're shy, they're a little bit nervous around the workplace, and you really see them become confident, engaged individuals who feel well supported and kind of ready to go on to the next role, whatever that may be. Before we speak to Evan and Bryony, I thought it would be helpful for you to hear a little bit about our kind of wraparound employability service and how it can be support for your Kickstart recruits. So the Prince's Trust execs, like myself, are supporting employers with necessary pre, during and post-placement wraparound support. The Prince's Trust will offer young people a range of facilitated workshops focused around high quality employment upskilling, including CV and interview skills. All enrolled Kickstart recruits will also be allocated a dedicated Prince's Trust youth worker like myself to ensure that they get the pastoral help and support that they need and that will be on hand so they're able to thrive on their placements. And that's really important to us. We also have aspirational workshops to help boost the confidence of our Kickstarters so they're ready to continue the journey, whatever that may be, into employment with the right attitude. Additionally, the Prince's Trust offers offboarding and post-placement support, including a celebration event to mark the young person's achievements. It's really important that they feel that and they know how much that is kind of helpful for themselves. We offer workshops for young people to understand their next steps and help to progress to other Prince's Trust programs or meaningful employment. Our high quality support enables a business to focus on resources, on providing company and sector specific experience, with the confidence that the Prince's Trust is handling everything else and they don't have to worry about that side of things. So I hope that gave you a little bit around kind of what we do and kind of a wraparound look at our employability and kind of support that we give through the Kickstart scheme. But without further ado, let's hear from Evan and Bryony and how they've found their placements so far. So hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Thank you for coming here today. Shall we start with a quick kind of brief introduction about yourselves? I don't know who would like to go first.
Sure, I'll go. So, hello, my name is Ivan. I am 23 years old. I'm originally from Spain and currently living in London. And I am a Kickstarter at Lad Bible Group, working in the digital content team, Content Bible, as a video researcher. Good. I've been working in hospitality since I was 16 and decided to learn all about mixology and cocktails after that. I worked in hospitality since I was 18, but the pandemic meant I wasn't working in that period. I was also not in the career path that I wanted in long term. So it was quite hard. I had to go back. I actually had to go back to Spain for a few months because I couldn't afford staying in London without a job. So, there's a little bit about me.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. And what about yourself, Bryony?
So I'm Bryony. I'm 21. I'm a customer assistant at Marks & Spencer's in Norwich. I had a job before the whole pandemic happened, and I used to work at the Range. So I haven't worked since December 2019. What else can I say? The way I found this, obviously trying to find this job, obviously through the pandemic, was a lot harder than what it normally is. But I did it through Universal Credit. So my work coach helped me find a job, and if it wasn't really for Prince's Trust, I wouldn't have one right now, pretty much. So that's me.
Thank you for introducing yourself. So what we do now is ask you a couple of questions and see what we can find out. So we'll start with Evan. How did you find out about your Kickstart placement, and what was the process like for applying?
So, I heard about the Kickstart program thanks to my Universal Credit work coach as well. They told me about the Kickstart program was then introduced me to the opportunity at that Bible Group, as it matched my interest quite a lot. I was actually searching for a change in my life in relation to my path career at the time, having been in hospitality since I was 16, and I wanted to move on into something more in relation to my passion point. It was an opportunity that I haven't seen before from another kind of organization, basically.
Okay, fab. Thank you. And how about yourself, Bryony? How did you find out about the Kickstart placement, and what was the process like that for applying?
So mine was also through Universal Credit. My work coach had helped me out, situating my likes and interests into a job that I want to go into, like retail, for example. And the whole process of applying for it was like a normal interview, so it wasn't like anything different to like a normal employee. And they didn't base it on, let's say, your CV or your cover letter. They based it on how your selling assessment went, how you interacted with people within the group you did it with, and how you interacted with like the people that were interviewing you. So it was quite a wasn't like a patronizing interview, if you know what I mean. It's more of a, you're still going to be employed by M&S, we're still going to treat you exactly the same. It's just you're under a different name pretty much. So that was how I applied for that. It was quite an easy process actually as well. It wasn't like a very intimidating process. It was very smooth and chilled.
Yeah, that's nice to hear that it was smooth for you and you didn't have many issues or problems along the way. It would be a bit worrying if you found it difficult. So it's glad to hear that it was kind of easygoing and you felt comfortable.
Yeah.
Yes.
So let's move on to the next question then. And again, we'll hop back to Ivan. How has the Prince's Trust supported you in your Kickstart placement? And do you have any highlights?
Oh, so is me starting again? Okay,
yes.
Sorry. So, well, they support me throughout the program. I have a mentor that I speak to on a regular basis to have check-ins in my progress. They have organized a number of workshops that happen every week based around employment skills, such as CV development, working with budgets, how to adapt to an office environment, and so on. And I have a sense of routine, how to independently work and also communicate effectively, especially as we've been working virtually most of the time. So that was quite helpful.
Okay, fabulous. Thank you for that one. And Bryony, why is it important that businesses do the Kickstart scheme?
I find it really important is because it gives a chance for younger people like myself and anyone younger than that to get the experience that they need to go into something they want to do like this, because obviously for the pandemic at the moment it's hard to gain that experience when you haven't been able to go out and get it, if you know what I mean. So when with the Prince's Trust in the 6 months, with my format at the moment anyway, you learn so much within the 6 months. You get to try each department. So it's not just clothing. You get to learn like the food side of everything. You get to learn the backstage operations. So for someone who would like to go into, let's say, what would be in a warehouse job, you still get that experience within that 6 months. And I think it's just great for people who want to then excel themselves beyond the 6 months and want to either go for a further job within the company they're in at the moment or go further somewhere else, which I think is great. So
okay, thank you for that one. So passing over, same question to you, Ivan. Why is it important that businesses do the Kickstart scheme?
Why is important? Well, I think that it gives the opportunity to young people to. Sorry, could you ask me a question again? I just lost my mind for a second.
Yeah, that's fine. No worries. Of course I can. So why is it important that businesses do the Kickstart?
Oh, yeah. Basically, well, businesses can help young people they can give opportunity to young people to find a new career. And yeah, I think it's a nice way to give young people that is one of the most affected now with unemployment, with all the situation, and you don't have experience, you might not have the degree that you could have, and still you got the opportunity to try something that otherwise it would be impossible. So I think that the opportunities can give the businesses can give this opportunity to all these people, and yeah, it's
Okay.
all that. Sorry, I just got on blank a little bit.
Yes, that's absolutely fine. No worries. So thank you so much for kind of coming on and answering some questions for us. We really appreciate it. And I'm sure everyone's been really interested in your answers to the questions. So thank you very much for coming along today, Bryony and Ivan. And again, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Cheers. Thank you.
Okay, so as you've heard from Ivan and Bryony, many young people struggle with unemployment across the UK. So the Kickstart scheme is a real lifeline, and it isn't too late to apply and make a difference to a young person's life. They just need someone to kind of take that chance on them. My colleagues and I are supporting businesses of all sizes across the UK, and you've heard the urgent need for opportunity and opportunity for businesses to make an impact now. So this is your opportunity to sign up with our support before you run out of time, as the last opportunity to onboard Kickstarters is December this year. Please reach out to the Prince's Trust team on Kickstart at princess-trust.org.uk, and we will kind of be in contact with you to go through the next start. So thank you so much for your time today, and thank you for being here.